Now, you knew that if I ever made a list like this, that I would include this movie. And why wouldn't I? I mean, it has got to be one of the strongest non-Disney animated movies of all time. And nowadays, I'm surprised that this film managed to get 10 movies so far. Anyway, even though I never saw The Swan Princess in theaters when I was little, I'm happy that I got a chance to watch it on DVD in 2004 after renting it from Netflix. And I'm deeply grateful that the promo trailer on the In Search of Dr. Seuss VHS led me to this classical movie. The reasons why I love this movie is because, to me, the hand-drawn animation is very reminiscent to Disney animation during the early 80s. Plus, the story is magical and romantic, and it has a few hilarious moments. Also, while the movie does not use Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake ballet music, I think the songs composed by David Zippel are really underrated, and some feel very reminiscent of classical Broadway musicals. My favorites being This Is My Idea, Practice, 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 Far Longer Than Forever, No Fear, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and Princesses on Parade. Plus, the voice actors do a wonderful job. Not only the late Michelle Nicastro as Odette, and former Phantom of the Opera Howard McGillin as Derek, but we also have John Cleese, Stephen Wright, and Swansker champion Steve Vinovich as Jean Bob, Speed, and Puffin. There's also Sandy Duncan as Derek's mom, Queen Uberta, and the late Jack Palance as the evil Lord Rothbart. Another reason why I love this movie is because last year, not only did I become the very first featured fan on the Swan Princess website, but I also got to attend the 25th anniversary pink carpet event in Los Angeles with my sister, where I got to see Anna Graceman, along with Liz Calloway and David Burnham, and I also got to meet my number one fan, Nathan Higa, as well as the producer, Selden Young, and the director, Richard Rich. Also, after watching the movie at the ArcLight Cinema, it made me love it a lot more than I did back in 2004. And trust me, that was a really magical experience that night. Overall, The Swan Princess is a movie that'll truly live far longer than forever in my heart. Out of all the Disney films that ever got released during the 2010s, there's no other movie that I ever felt hot for than this one. When I first heard that Disney was going to make their own animated version of Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen, I went crazy. And when I also heard that Idina Menzel was going to be the lead character, I got even more excited. And when Frozen finally got released in fall 2013, it did not disappoint. To me, this film has got to be one of Disney's absolute best animated movies next to The Lion King. Plus, I'm surprised that this film has been in development hell for about 70 years. Also, to me, the CGI animation is absolutely flawless and captivating, with all the snowfalls and the blizzards, making it feel like I'm actually there, especially when watching it in 3D. Plus, it has unforgettable songs written by the husband and wife duo Christian Anderson and Robert Lopez. My favorites being Frozen Heart, Let It Go, In Summer, Do You Want to Build a Snowman, and For the First Time in Forever. Also, I like how the story focuses on the relationship of sisters. Also, not only does Idina Menzel do an outstanding performance as Elsa, but Kristen Bell is absolutely adorable as Anna, Josh Gad is funny as Olaf, and Jonathan Groff is great as Kristoff, while also doing impressions of what his reindeer Sven would say. Plus, not only did Frozen get 2 Academy Awards, but it also influenced a Broadway show that I got to see at the Pantages Theater in Los Angeles several months ago, as well as influencing one of my favorite levels in Kingdom Hearts 3, and it also influenced 2 theatrical release shorts. Also to note, Elsa became another one of my top 10 cartoon crushes. But Frozen itself is not alone on this spot. Why? Well, it's because I think the sequel is very mature and thought-provoking compared to the first movie, and I like that it goes more in depth with Elsa's character, and that it explains why she was born with ice magic. Plus, I think the elemental spirits are really cool creatures. Though my favorite would have to be the water knock, due to my fascination with horses. And the way Elsa manages to tame it while crossing the Dark Sea and save Arendelle from a flood with an ice wall proves that she has true Mustang power. Also, I'm very proud that Elsa fulfilled her destiny and became the Ice Spirit. I also like that we get to meet the Nethuldra tribe and Captain Matthias, who have been trapped in the Enchanted Forest for 30 years ever since Anna and Elsa's tyrannical grandfather built a dam in the forest. Plus, I like that the movie gives a lot of character development for King Agnar and Queen Iduna. May they rest in peace. And the new songs are very enchanting and powerful, like All Is Found, Lost in the Woods, Into the Unknown, and Show Yourself. Also, I thought it was very cute and funny when Olaf posed as Mickey Mouse during the charade scene. And there was a running gag where Kristoff is trying desperately to propose to Anna, kind of like how Bernard did in The Rescuers Down Under. But thankfully, Kristoff does get some help from a Nethuldra named Ryder. Also, while Elsa and Honeymaren do make a great best friend dynamic, I just pray that Disney doesn't get any funny ideas about making them lovers, just when I thought the Jack Frost and Elsa shipping was bad enough. Besides, Walt Disney would never allow that. If anything, I think Elsa deserves to be shipped with the water knock. Anyway, with the wonderful winter magic that Elsa gave to Disney, the Frozen films are movies that I'll never let go anytime soon. Now for this spot, I want to talk about something really incredible. In my personal opinion, The Incredibles is my all-time favorite Pixar film, even more so than the Toy Story quadrilogy, Coco, WALL-E, Inside Out, Up, and the previously mentioned Onward. Why? Well, not just because it's an awesome superhero movie, but Brad Bird does a phenomenal job directing it, just like he did with The Iron Giant. For those who don't remember, this movie is about a superhero family who are forced into hiding by the government due to a series of superhero lawsuits. 15 years later, not long after losing his job, Mr. Incredible gets summoned to an island to battle an out-of-control robot called the Omnidroid. Soon, Mr. Incredible is in trouble after encountering an old adversary from the glory days, and it's up to his family to save him. Now, I really love these characters due to them feeling like a real family, and like the characters in Sing, they go through believable problems. For example, Bob misses being a hero, and his job at InsureCare puts him through a lot of pressure. Helen does her best to keep her family in line and from blowing their cover. Violet is insecure of herself and literally feels invisible. Dash wants to go out for sports, and Jack, well, up until the ending, he's just a baby. Also, Pixar's style of CGI is really amazing, as always, and the action scenes are really kick-ass. Plus, there are a few comedic moments too. Also, the musical score by Michael Giacchino is really epic, and the voice acting is absolutely phenomenal, from Craig T. Nelson as Mr. Incredible, Holly Hunter as Elastigirl, Sarah Vowell as Violet, Spencer Fox as Dash, Samuel L. Jackson as Frozone, Jason Lee as Syndrome, the late Elizabeth Pena as Mirage, and Brad Bird as Edna. Also, believe it or not, some parts of the movie feel reminiscent to other action films like X-Men, Spider-Man 2, James Bond, and Indiana Jones. Still, that suicide scene at the beginning wasn't very impressive, and I can't believe Bob got sued for rescuing the poor guy. Another reason why this movie is on my list is because it gained an equally incredible sequel in 2018, and it also influenced the most incredible thrill ride at Disney California Adventure. But I just hope that Square Enix can add The Incredibles in a future Kingdom Hearts game. Now that would be really cool. Overall, there's no other Pixar movie more super and incredible than this. Now, would it be a surprise that the next entry is a movie that came all the way from France? Ever since I saw a promo of this movie on Facebook in late 2016, I became deeply interested in checking it out. And even though I did see its European version on Kim Cartoon, I was happy that I saw its American version during August 2017. The movie follows an orphan girl named Felicie, who dreams of being a ballerina. One night, she, along with her best friend Victor, who wants to be an inventor, escape from the orphanage and make their way to Paris. After getting separated, Felicie finds her way to the Paris Opera House, where she meets a mysterious limp cleaner named Odette, who agrees to take Felicie under her wing and train her to become a ballerina, after Felicie enrolls in a dance school under the name of Camille Leon. in my eyes, Eric Sommer and Eric Warren did a great job directing, and the musical score by Klaus Badelt is absolutely wonderful. And I also like the film's soundtrack, which features several artists like Demi Lovato, Sia, Camila Mora, and others. Plus, to me, the CGI animation is absolutely beautiful, and it does a great job capturing the scenery of 1880s Paris. Plus, I like that the movie briefly mentions Gustave Eiffel, who's best known for building the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty. Plus, I like that the film's choreography was done by Arielle Dupont. And I like that it features classical music from the Nutcracker and the Swan leg ballets. Also, I think the main character, Felicie, has big dreams and has lots of passion. Plus, I like that her dancing skills get better and more graceful as the film progresses. And I like that her late mother, Angela, was her inspiration to dance. Also, I really love the scene where Felicie dances at a bar. Her best friend Victor is an intelligent young boy, and I think his hang glider invention is very clever. Louis Merant is a strict but a soft-hearted choreographer. Camille Leon does start off like a spoiled brat, but later she becomes a nicer person. And I'm glad that Camille is not like her wicked mother, Regine. But my favorite character would have to be Odette, voiced by pop singer Carly Rae Jepsen. Why? Well, in my opinion, I think Odette is a great dance teacher while training Felicie, and she makes a wonderful mother figure. Also to note, while some of the dialogue in the American version is a little different from the European version, I think it's still pretty good. And I just hope that someday I can visit Paris in my future. With a film like this, if you never leap, you'll never know what it's like to fly. Now, I must admit, I may have stopped going to church in 2006, but that never stopped me from looking at one of my favorite stories from the Old Testament. When I first saw this movie in theaters back in 1998, I didn't understand it too well, but after reading about it in the Bible and watching the movie more often on home media, I realized that this is the best animated version of the Exodus story. Even better than that CGI Ten Commandments movie from 2007. Also, for being DreamWorks' first traditionally animated movie, I think this is their magnum opus before they moved on to CGI animated comedies. To me, the animation is simply outstanding, from the character designs, the hieroglyphic dream sequence, and the desert landscapes, which were, believe it or not, inspired by Death Valley. Plus, to me, the story is very serious, powerful, and thought-provoking, with scenes like the slavery abuse, the burning bush, the plagues, the Passover, and the crossing at the Red Sea. Plus, the songs by Stephen Schwartz are really amazing, and in my opinion, the best song would have to be When You Believe, which got an Oscar Academy Award for Best Original Song. Also, I thought Val Kilmer was great as both Moses and God. Ralph Fiennes does a magnificent villainous performance as Ramesses, and this was long before he got to play Lord Voldemort in the Harry Potter film series. Miriam, voiced by Sandra Bullock, was a faithful and a great supporting sister, and Zipporah, voiced by Michelle Pfeiffer, did start out hostile and aggressive, but later she becomes kind, playful, sarcastic, and a supporting wife for Moses. The movie also features other great actors like Patrick Stewart, Helen Mirren, Steve Martin, Martin Short, Jeff Goldblum, and Danny Glover. Also, The Prince of Egypt did gain a direct-to-video prequel called Joseph King of Dreams, and nowadays, every time I watch this animated Bible story, it brings back memories of when I got to participate in Promised Land with my musical theater village friends. Overall, The Prince of Egypt has got to be the best animated Bible movie ever, and thank you, DreamWorks, for delivering this movie to the Promised Land. For those who don't know, Spider-Man has got to be one of my favorite Marvel heroes, and while 2018 was not a great year for him, due to Thanos disintegrating him, it really felt great seeing an animated Marvel movie on the big screen. And I was really thrilled when it got an Oscar Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. The plot centers around a Brooklyn teenager named Miles Morales, who, after getting bitten by a radioactive spider, suddenly develops mysterious powers that transform him into a new Spider-Man. But not long after Peter Parker's death at the hands of Kingpin, Miles meets 5 different versions of Spider-Man from different dimensions. Hoping to avenge his hero, Miles was now trained as hard as he can to use his newfound skills to battle the evil Kingpin and destroy the Dimensional Collider once and for all. In my eyes, the animation for this movie is really incredible. It feels like a comic book come to life. Also, the story makes a great coming-of-age film, giving the message that when someone is Spider-Man, someone very important gets killed, like Peter's Uncle Ben, Penny's father, Gwen's best friend, Nora's uncle, Harry Osborn, or even Iron Man. Plus, the action and fight scenes are really epic, thrilling, and awesome. The main character, Miles, is very unique compared to most Spider-Men, and he's a very relatable kid. Plus, I think Miles has great potential to be an amazing Spider-Man, and he has several unique abilities, like invisibility and electrical webs. Peter B. Parker, while going through a depressing life, is a great teacher for Miles. Gwen Stacy gets a lot of character development, and she makes a great supporting character. Plus, I love Haley Steinfeld's voice for Gwen. The other Spider-Men, like Spider-Nor, Penny Parker, and Spider-Ham, are interesting, mysterious, hardcore, and funny. And the main villain, Kingpin, is very brutal, especially when he's backed up by several other Spider-Man villains. Another thing to mention about this movie is that this was one of Stan Lee's final cameo appearances before he passed away in November 2018. And in my opinion, this movie was one of Stan's bigger moments, rather than being a passing cameo. Also, let me remind you viewers that a Spider-Verse sequel is scheduled to be released in 2022, and several spin-off movies are still in development as we speak, which makes me really excited for more Spider-Man action. Overall, when it comes to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, this really is the best comic book movie ever made. Now, this was the very first animated horse movie that I ever watched, long before I became fascinated with films like the Unico movies, The Last Unicorn, or My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. The story follows the adventures of a wild and rambunctious Mustang stallion as he journeys through the untamed American frontier. Encountering man for the first time, Spirit develops a remarkable friendship with a young Lakota named Little Creek, and finds love with a beautiful painted mare named Rain, on his way to becoming one of the greatest unsung heroes of the Old West. To me, while The Prince of Egypt was DreamWorks' magnum opus, Spirit is DreamWorks' most powerful and emotional movie ever, not to mention one of their most underrated. And I think Kelly Asbury, who sadly passed away recently, did a great job directing. Also, the animation is spectacular, and I love how it captures the American frontier. Plus, I'm surprised that the cavalry outpost, the Lakota village, and the Mustang's Valley were inspired by several national parks, valleys, canyons, and mountain ranges all over the country. Also, I thought it was interesting that some of the horses in this movie inspired Donkey's horse form in Shrek 2. Plus, I like that the film takes place during the Manifest Destiny, the time when America was expanding. And I think several parts of the movie are fun, hilarious, daring, intense, and above all, emotional and tear-jerking. Another thing that I love about this movie are the songs, written and sung by Bryan Adams. And I think these songs are absolutely wonderful. From Here I Am, You Can't Take Me, Get Off My Back, and I Will Always Return. Also, I think the title character Spirit, while not a tame horse, is a strong, responsible, and sometimes a fun-loving character. Plus, I really love Matt Damon's narration. Little Creek is adventurous and daring, and I love his friendship chemistry with Spirit. Rain is a beautiful horse, and I think she's kind-hearted, lovable, cautious, and serious when the situation calls for it. Another thing that I like is that Spirit influenced a Netflix spin-off series called Spirit Riding Free, which will soon get a full-length theatrical movie during May 2021. And trust me, that, in my opinion, is something that I'm definitely looking forward to. Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron, a movie that shows true Mustang power and makes me want to ride free. For those who grew up during the 90s, including me, the Disney Renaissance was a really big part of my childhood, and for this spot, I decided to include the films that began and ended that wonderful era. I know what you're thinking, why not something predictable like The Lion King or The Hunchback of Notre Dame? Well, in my personal opinion, both of these movies are very special, and I feel like they both have a lot in common. For example, the animation is both timeless and classical, with several parts having incredible CGI effects. Plus, They both have an amazing voice cast and classical Disney songs, either being from Alan Menken, the late Howard Ashman, and Phil Collins. Also, my experience seeing them in cinemas were pretty great. While I never saw The Little Mermaid's original 1989 release, I'm happy that me and my sister got to see its 1997 re-release, and like A Christmas Carol, I got to see Tarzan at the El Capitan Theater. Also, the main characters for each movie are both memorable characters whom I deeply root for. The sidekick characters like Flounder, Sebastian, and Scuttle, or Turk and Tantor, are cute, wonderful, memorable, and funny. And I like the scenes where the main characters rescue their love interests and later get to know each other. Like the scene where Prince Eric gives Ariel a tour around his kingdom and go for a boat ride in a lagoon, or the scene where Jane teaches Tarzan about civilized life and how to speak English, while Tarzan shows Jane his jungle world and his gorilla family. Plus, I think both movies have a strict and overprotective father character like King Triton and Kerchak, and I think both Ursula and Clayton are classical and threatening Disney villains. Also, I think the endings for each movie are kind of similar, with Ariel or Jane reuniting with their true loves by coming out of the water. Also to note, both films not only got an animated series, but they also influenced two direct-to-video sequels from Disney Toon and Walt Disney Television Animation. And they both got Broadway stage adaptations. Overall, nowadays, every time I watch these movies, they both bring back fond childhood memories of that wonderful Disney Renaissance era. The Little Mermaid and Tarzan. One was a golden beginning, and the other was a wild ending to the Disney Renaissance. And it makes me happy to be part of these two worlds. Now, for this spot, I want to let you know that you'll never find a Disney movie that's amazing as the boy who found this lamp. Now, my parents told me that Aladdin was the very first animated Disney movie that I saw in theaters. But believe it or not, my love for this movie truly began sometime later after watching the Friend Like Me Disney Sing-Along VHS. And as a child, I practically watched this timeless Disney film from 1992 non-stop. And nowadays, while I am aware of its controversial flaws, I still enjoy the movie. Why? Well, I think the animation is amazing, and like with Princess and the Frog and The Little Mermaid, John Musker and Ron Clements do a marvelous job directing. Plus, we also get wonderful songs by Alan Menken, Howard Ashman, and Tim Rice. Speaking of which, when I saw Alan Menken in concert at the Segerstrom during late September 2016, Menken said that collaborating with Tim Rice felt like a whole new world for him. Also, I think the main character, Aladdin, is noble, friendly, and honest when he's not lying about being a prince. Princess Jasmine is a strong-willed, independent, free-spirited, and a compassionate Disney princess. Abu and Carpet are fun sidekick characters. Jafar is a badass Disney villain, and Iago is a hilarious parrot due to Gilbert Gottfried's style of humor. But to me, the best character in the movie is the genie, voiced by the late, great Robin Williams. And ever since I was little, this lovable blue kooky guy has become one of my favorite Disney characters who always brings me a smile every time he's on screen. Also, Agrabah is one of my favorite worlds to explore throughout the Kingdom Hearts series. And like The Little Mermaid and Tarzan, Aladdin got an animated series, which was very adventurous, and it also got 2 direct-to-video sequels. And to me, while The Return of Jafar was a tad underwhelming to most Disney fans, I found it to be okay, with showing how badass and villainous Jafar can be as a genie. And I'm happy that Iago became a good guy. And I think Aladdin and the King of Thieves was absolutely outstanding, with Aladdin reuniting with his long-lost father. However, while The Little Mermaid and Tarzan may have yet to get their own live-action movies in the future, I thought Aladdin's live-action movie from last year was pretty great. Another reason why I love this movie is because during early 2013, my musical Theater Village friends did their own stage version of Aladdin before the movie was put on Broadway in 2014. And they casted me as the Sultan. And trust me, that was a great experience, and I can't believe that I had to grow out a full beard for the role. Aladdin, a Disney classic that brought me into a whole new world. Now, before we move on to my absolute favorite animated movie, here's a little list of my honorable mentions. So, if you have any questions regarding these movies, please feel free to leave a comment below. Now, let me ask you guys a question. If you were in my shoes, what animated movie could ever define your childhood more than Dr. Seuss, horses, musicals, Pokemon, superheroes, enchanted princesses, Oz, or the Disney Renaissance could? Well, that answer is pretty obvious, but still pretty surprising. So, why does this movie take the #1 spot? Well, despite the fact that several parts have continuity errors, and that it spawned 13 sequels and a TV show, this was one of my favorite animated movies ever since I was 3 years old, and my absolute favorite movie that Don Bluth has ever made. Plus, dinosaurs were really huge during the early 90s. For those who don't know, this movie follows a young longneck named Littlefoot, who, after getting separated from his grandparents during a huge earthquake, and his mother's death after getting attacked by a shark tooth, goes on a dangerous journey to find the Great Valley. Along the way, Littlefoot makes several new friends, like a stubborn three-horn named Sarah, a swimmer named Ducky, a flyer named Petrie, and a spike-tail named Spike. Now, aside from Don Bluth as director, the film has Steven Spielberg and George Lucas as producer, and the late James Horner as the film's composer. Plus, I think the 80s animation is classical, and while this is a G-rated movie, there are several scenes that are very emotional and tear-jerking, as well as heart-pounding and intense. Like the scenes involving the shark tooth, and where the gang faced dangerous obstacles like a lava flow and a tar pit. Also, I thought the final climax, where the kids set a trap to drown Sharktooth in a pond, was very epic, due to Petrie finally being able to fly, and Sarah helping Littlefoot and Spike push a boulder on top of Sharktooth. Plus, I like the film's message saying that we need each other in order to survive, rather than looking out for number one. Plus, the voice acting is great too, with Gabriel Damon as Littlefoot, Candace Hudson as Sarah, Will Ryan as Petrie, and the late Judith Barcy as Ducky. Speaking of which, I think it was really sad that this and All Dogs Go to Heaven were Judith Barcy's final voice roles before she was murdered by her mentally ill father. I also think Pat Hingle's narration is really wonderful. Another reason why I love this movie is the end credits song, If We Hold On Together, sung by the beautiful and talented Diana Ross. Due to the sad and soothing lyrics. Plus, I think it makes a great coming-of-age song, with one of the verses saying that we've come so far and we mustn't throw it away. So, with all that said, The Land Before Time is a dinosaur classic, and it truly deserves to be my number one personal favorite animated movie ever. Well, folks, that concludes my top 30 personal favorite animated movies. Man, can't believe how far I've come during my time living. Anyway, be sure to join me for more blogs on my channel. Mustang Power, and happy 30 years of being alive.